Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. As always, coming off of a nice little sweep there in the play of props yesterday, 4-0. Probably would have went 5-0, but Kristaps didn't play. He was ripe for 26 points and rebounds, as we all know. But either way, we are happy to take 4-0 into Tuesday here with 5 games on the slate for us to choose from as we move forward. We also have best bets up as we do each and every weekday. So go ahead and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. Also want you to head to thelines.com and pull up that odds finder tool, the prop finder tool, however you want to phrase it, to make sure that you're getting the best juice on all these bets that we are making in the NBA this season. Nate, let's go ahead and keep the streak alive and get into your first play a prop here.
Yeah, Jalen Williams, who we love, the wing Jalen Williams for the Thunder, and I'll take either his peripherals, which is pretty low. I think that's my preferred bet, is over 8.5 rebounds assists here, or you can bundle it together, 28.5 PRA, but I think the peripherals is particularly low because it's 4.5 rebounds or 4.5 assists, and then you put them together and you get less than that. That's still pretty good odds, minus 115. It's plus odds to take each individually, but the point is, like, Jay Will has become a much bigger part of the offense here. Recently, his last 8 games, he's up to 6.5 assists per game and 10 potential assists, a 12% assist to pass ratio. Also rebounding, 9.3 rebound chances, translating to 5.5 actual rebounds in that 8-game span. And in the last 4, SGA's kind of cooled off a little bit, at least in terms of usage, at least in terms of like other teams completely selling out for to get the ball out of his hands, right? Which is to say, like, all right, we need a secondary playmaker, and J-Dub has the second highest usage rate, 25% usage, able to get a ton of assists as that secondary playmaker. He dropped 21, 7, and 4 in just 19 minutes when they absolutely demolished Portland a week ago at home. I think it was like 10 days ago at this point. I actually think this one's going to be a little closer. I don't know why. I don't think, you're going to come back and do that again to a Portland team. I do know why. It was because Portland was on this really long road trip where they literally punted every game and they didn't seem to care. I think there was a back-to-back even at OKC. And now, they have more guys in there. They're giving Brogdon an actual run. So it should be relatively competitive. He'll get more than 19 minutes, we would think, because of that. And while you're out there, Portland gives up the 5th most rebounds, 7th most assists on the road. And that's up to 32 assists per game in their last 6, including 41 to OKC in that blowout. So I think J-Dub, his assists should be there and the rebounds should be there as well.
You're saying you're not predicting another 62-point blowout?
A little closer.
A little closer to that. Okay. Well, 30 points would still mean that they didn't have to play that much. So I trust and believe in all these. And J-Dub is my guy. I bet on him at least like 6 times this season already for these videos. And just in general, probably a bit more than I've let on in the videos I've bet on him as well, because he is still being undervalued. He was undervalued all last season, starting with his coach until he finally started giving him near 30 minutes a game, starting in December, January last year when we started looking at him, and I picked him up in fantasy, and he took me all the way to the playoffs. So like we'll continue to believe in him way more than the books seem to, or at least the public, because I guess there's not that many people still watching OKC. Like, they are a league pass team that you would need to see. They're on national television a lot more, but J-Dub is not. It's a Chet and SGA recap every time you watch a Sports Center or anything like that, right? So J-Dub, though, if you watch a game, is a wonderful shooting guard. Still listed as like power forward on a lot of these random sites. He's a shooting guard, man. He's option 2, 1B, however you want to phrase it. So I'll continue to believe in him. The only thing that kept me from touching this game in any way is obviously the blowout potential. So I'm going to go to the game I talked about in best bets, where I took an under for the Pellies and the Yaz here in New Orleans, but I'd like CJ McCollum to do a lot of the dirty work here not dirty work, just a lot of the work overall, actually pretty work for the Pelicans, because I think he's going to score and I think he's going to assist. Both of those things. He's at 23.5 PA, so I'm taking over in that. He's gone over in 4 of his last 5 versus Utah. Including even when he was on the Blazers, he would go over versus this team. He's averaging 23 a game and 5 assists in those 5, so well over the 24 PA that he would need. This did open up at like 22, 21 and a half, I think, in some places, and it has been bet up because it's pretty clear that this is a good spot for him. The Jazz have been all right against point guards. I will say they've been limiting point guards. Sexton's a very good defensive point guard, but they just played this game and McCollum went off again. I mean, 22-7. I don't know if you want to say off, but he cleared this number very easily with the exact lineups that we're going to see playing in this one, like the same squads were playing in that last game there for CJ when he played the Jazz. So there's a reason for it. I mean, CJ shoots all his stuff above the break, or he takes one step in and takes the mid range, right? Those are the two shots that CJ McCollum takes if he's not able to get any further to the rim. Does have a nice floater, by the way. The 5 to 9 foot sort of the painted non-restricted area, if you will, is where CJ also lives a lot, right? If he can step in and get that floater game, works for him very well. He hits a bunch of shots from there, and that is where Utah gives up a way more shots because people don't really want to go all the way to the rim against some of these shot blockers on this team, namely Walker Kessler, right? So that would be a big reason why they don't give up. Utah doesn't give up stuff inside of 5 feet, but they give up plenty from 5 to 9, and they give up a ton at the top of the break where CJ's taking 7 above the break threes per game, right? Not really obviously getting into the corners. He's the point guard, especially when there are all 5 guys, including obviously BI and Zion. Are they on the floor is what you want to know. And they've been on the floor for the last 10 games when CJ's been going not comfortably, but over this number as well, averaging 23 points and assists over his last 10. He does average a bit more assists when Zion's not in there, but like I said, the last 10 Zion's assists have been right about even as well with him, as opposed to Zion being mostly point Zion. There's been him playing a lot more off ball as well. So that's why I like the potential assists are at for CJ. The fact that Utah's defense is terrible on the road and gives up a ton of assists, 4 more actually on the road, 30 assists per game that they allow versus 26 when they play at home. So I don't love points overall, but I think CJ is going to be doing a lot of the work on offense for the Pels.
Yeah, we don't like the game to go over, but we do have 2 over props from this game, interestingly. But I mean, I do like taking the vet here, CJ versus BI or Zion, because when we're on extended rest here, I mentioned 3 days off for the Pelicans. You look at the game log, anytime basically CJ has played a competitive game, like not a blowout on 2+ days off, he's gotten this prop, and that includes his first game back from missing almost all of November, where he went for 20-5 against Philly. That includes, going over against Minnesota, really good defenses. And then, yeah, you see what he did in this matchup against Utah, which is not a good defense at all, which is, making me, again, concerned about a game under. But, we're talking player props here, and I'm going to keep going with Colin Sexton to score over 21.5 points, which does, again, seem to be a little undervalued for a guy who continues to score a ton. I think, we often advocate follow the minutes, and he doesn't get a ton of minutes, but this seems to be a strategy from Will Hardy to just have him be really fresh and really aggressive when he's out there. And that's why he has over a 30% usage rate in his last 4, and he's getting 29 points per game in those 31 minutes. He's a plus 48, big part of their success. And he's done it in some relatively tough matchups, including 30 in just 24 minutes against Indy, which is somehow the point guard stoppers, including 28 points last time out against Houston, a really good home defense, took 27 shots and still got those 27 up, despite Clarkson coming off the bench and jacking 25 shots. So, I mean, the Jazz are fine going up and down, taking a ton of shots. New Orleans has somehow given up the most points to point guards in their last 7 here. I think he will get that head-to-head matchup against CJ, who is probably the weak point of the defense that the Pelicans are going to have to switch, trade offense for defense in that sense and keep him out on the floor because he's facilitating getting Josh's bet done. And we just saw Sexton go toe-to-toe with SGA, clearly, showing that competitiveness, nicknamed the Young Bull, apparently. And we'll go right at this old dude as he comes off 2 days rest as well. He's averaging 25 in this hot stretch for the Jazz, last 8, and shooting 51% from 3, also getting 5.5 assists, like just a really big part of their offensive explosion. And I think he can stay relatively hot in this one.
I'm with it. I think he's going to get the minutes moving forward. I can't if you look at his game log, I don't think Will Hardy can ignore a per 36 of 50 points or whatever at this point. If you look at his game log in the last 10, dating back to the beginning of this month, right, in the month of January, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 27, 18, 21, 20, 28, 24. Like one 30-minute game in there, all well below it, right? And then he has that amazing game versus OKC with 31 points in 34 minutes. And then he gets another 40 against Houston. And I do think that's about to be the trend, is like all those minutes I just said, add a point to it. When he played 18 minutes, 19 points. He played 20 minutes, 22 points. Like, you can't keep him out. If he's scoring more than a point a minute, you got to keep him on the floor. He still had like 28 points in the 40 minutes. He's still very efficient. Colin Sexton is like here to play, man. And he's one of those dudes that I feel like we've both looked at since he came in the league and been like, is anyone else seeing this dude? This dude's incredible. He goes so hard. He plays such incredible defense. He's under control on offense, and he's finally getting his due. Is really just what I think is happening. The same way sort of Markkanen did. Honestly, it's a good place to be a Jazz player right now who needs a sort of refresh for under Will Hardy. So let me close it out here with Austin Reeves, Mr. Reeves there for LA. But I'm not talking about his 3-point prop necessarily. I just want to talk about his rebound prop, and it's at 3.5. I would take that. I would also, I think I feel more comfortable as well with, not more comfortable, just as comfortable rather, with the points and rebounds. His points go up when Mr. LeBron James is not playing. His minutes go up a smidge as well. He's one of the larger beneficiaries of LeBron not being in there, right? Like, he's the one who gets a little bit more usage. There's more shots specifically for him. D'Lo gone D'Lo, so he shoots when LeBron's out there. But he's going to shoot even more probably tonight as well. If you want to look at D'Lo, his props are rising continuously because everyone knows that he's been on a heater in the last couple of weeks, as we called the other game, talking about his 3-point prop and stuff like that. Now he's back in a situation where it's not a great situation for either player. Like, I don't want to have to take too many props or overs versus this Clippers team. The rim will be a little bit more available as well, and that does lean towards Austin's points prop more because he is someone who wants to get to the foul line and go inside a bit more, definitely more than D'Lo does, obviously. And without Zubac in there and with Daniel Tyson there, things are going to be a little bit softer for guys like Austin Reeves to go down low. So that's another reason why I like the rebounds for him, is Zoo is not playing. And Zubac gobbled up 19 boards last time they played. AD and Christian Wood also combined, and as well as LeBron combined for 28 boards between the three of them. So there wasn't that much to go around for Mr. Austin Reeves last game. Even though he had just in 31 minutes, he only had 8 points, 0 boards, just a completely different look now. You've got Kawhi, PG. Those are the guys that need to rebound. Russell Westbrook are the guys rebounding for the Clips without Zubac over the last roughly 6 games or so. And that means there's a lot more opportunity for Austin Reeves. Like I said, he's gone over this in his last 4 and all 3 this season in terms of the rebounds. The points and rebounds at 19.5 is something he also continues to go over. If you look at what the games he's played without LeBron, he's averaging about 9.5 rebound chances per game. So at 3.5 boards, I just don't think they're taking into consideration that Austin Reeves is a lot more involved in the rebounding game on this starting unit, and also Rui's not getting the minutes either. So maybe you'll see a bit more Rui or a bit more Jared Vanderbilt, but Austin Reeves is also going to be up well above 32, 33 minutes in this game.
Yeah, it looks like they might start Rui for Bron, but you're not going to keep him out there against this small ball Clippers team, right? Especially without Zoo, it's going to be AD and 4 wings basically. And Austin Reeves was the first person I looked at with LeBron out here. I don't love the matchup because like he's going to see plenty of like Paul George and Kawhi, and they're obviously very good defensively, but I think there will be a little bit of spike in terms of his overall production. So yeah, I am fine with that. This game, like with the Lakers, it's so hard to predict effort, but you got to assume that, I mean, first of all, AR is the guy who gives effort all the time. And you got to assume that they're going to bring it against their cross-building rivals, and that we'll get a fair shake here. But I mean, maybe I'm just a little sour about on Friday them getting blown out by a freaking Nets team that had not scored 110 against anybody prior to that game.
Oh, you mean when they dropped 130 on that team? Yeah, that was it might have been 132. Brutal, wildly brutal. And Mikhail still hit under, by the way, in that game. We took him under 23.5 points, and they still hit. That's why I said Nick Claxton sunned him. But anyway, that is all the time we have. No one's picking a Lakers victory here. I just like Austin Reeves to get rebounds more than anything. So that's all the time we have, though, in the player props. We also have best bets up for you, so make sure to subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along all season with us. And until we see you next, happy betting.